All right. Our three safety, three high defense here. We're going to start talking about the triangle. Just a brief intro to run fits. Remember, our triangle consists of our outside linebackers, our Mike, and our middle safety. You can see here why we call it the triangle. Essentially just the shape that's formed here by our inside four. And again, we're including that middle safety, our Jack, in that inside four. He practices with these guys, and again, more so because of our small staff. We only got 4 coaches here being at the 2-3A level. But also, it's really beneficial having him in there for the run fits. It's easy to drill his Tampa responsibilities, but he needs to be more of a run-first player here. And then you can see here how we have the add-in. We add that safety in whenever we attach an H-back tight end. So, how we morph it, we talked about that in our base alignments video, the previous video. If we add in that H-back, add in that tight end, it's going to pull that safety into the box and help us match boxes with the opponent. We'll start here by looking at what exactly are these guys reading in our triangle. So we'll start here. Mike's going to be reading guard to guard, then seeing the backfield. In most modern offenses, that's how we do it with what we see. Guard to guard, reading this inside-out triangle, looking for the first clear that opens up. Jack's doing the same thing, reading guard to guard, looking for the second clear that opens up on the inside. And then we got our Sam and Will seeing through the tackle, cross-reading backfield. Okay, so if we do get a pistol-type backfield, if we pull this running back in the stack, pistol-type look here, then we would be reading deepest. So it's cross-read to the deepest, seeing through the tackle, looking for our good run-pass read. First steps are always forward for the triangle, unless we're doing something different with this Jack in coverage, where he's running more of a cover 3 or a declared cover 1 type look. He will be forward as well. So we talk about 2 hard read steps forward at each of these positions, and then react and make your play. Depth, in terms of depth here, the Sam is typically 3.5 to 4 yards of depth. If we do have a two slot receiver here, he's going to split the difference between the end man on the line of scrimmage and him. If we pull a tight end here, he's typically playing 3x3 off of that, and same thing with our Will. The Sam and Will are pretty interchangeable in what they do. A little bit different responsibilities, which we talked about that a little bit more in coverage. How our Will typically ends up being more of a man cover player, and our Sam's more of his own, a hook curl, potentially flat player. But the Sam and Will, pretty interchangeable. They all need to know this Mike position. Allows us to plug and play different body types here. And then again, this Jack, most important, smartest guy on the defense right here. We'll talk a little bit about our read drill here for the triangle. This is a drill that we do nearly every day, that we have at least defensive portions of practice built in. So typically, we got a lot of two-way players. We have our Monday, which is, film, just understand the opponent, getting out there doing some light work on the field, more team-based. So this is typically a Tuesday, Wednesday, potentially a Thursday type drill. Early in the summer, when we don't have spring ball, this is a quick install, talking about what we need to do, where we need to be. You can see here we have lines of rotational players in the back. We got our Mike, Jack, that middle safety, Sam and Will out on the field. It'd be nice if I had, another coach and a couple more players so we could simulate a little bit more in the backfield, but I typically act as the strong guard here in our read, so we say strong left. So you can see here, just based on alignment, we're practicing pretending 2x2, 10 personnel just for simplicity. Jack's practicing, aligning to that strength. You can see just half step to the strength. Sam and Will are about 3.5 yards in depth, playing that between in man line of scrimmage and the number 2 receiver, wide receiver, that is potentially a slot here. If they pull in, sometimes we'll practice pulling in like a tight end type, and they'll play 3x3, on their side, just to simulate that action we'll see in the game. First one we'll look at here is if we get some sort of pull weak here, and here I've drawn up our end and our tackle positions. Probably our number one call we make is playing the 4s and stunting to C gap. Heavy with hands here. So we simulate that in our drill every day, just practicing that base look that we're going to run the most. Mike, again, looking inside out clear. Jack's looking for the next inside out clear. And we have our forced fall players. You can see here the will in this case is that forced player forcing everything to turn back inside, staying shoulders squared, taking on the puller, which in this case, again, is me, the pulling guard, as the coach. The Mike's inside out, so he's looking to be inside of the puller, looking for the first clear he sees. And that's dependent. We don't talk about gaps. If we have a stud here playing this nose, it'll be a double down type look, and we feel like our Mike can find that clear. If they release straight to him, he's got to find that inside shoulder. If there's an opening here and what would be a gap. So it kind of depends here. Depends on the type of block action that we see here. We just practice him simulating the first clear that he envisions seeing. You can see here how we kind of play the gap scheme stuff. Again, we're trying to get under the puller. Depending on the athleticism of the kid, if he's an athletic kid, we're trying to get under it quick. If not, we're playing that knockback type technique. But this is just a quick read and react drill. We get the pull, inside clear, next inside clear by our jack, middle safety. And on the backside of everything, we're practicing this hold technique. Okay, and again, our outside linebackers are forced fall players. So he's essentially working to stack to that end at the snap when runs away. He knows that if there's a B gap clear, he needs to fill it around the backside A to B gap, and he knows that if it's cloudy here, if this end gets inside, then he's got to get back outside and play that force. So these guys he's working in tandem off this backside defensive lineman. And here we see another pull weak, kind of that same thing, some sort of insertion type look here. Mike is inside out of that pull. Jack's looking for that next clear, so you can see how that works in tandem there. Here if this gets real wide, runs at him, he's thinking he's a forced player. But if this gets real wide, not necessarily a common 10 gap or 10 personnel type set we'll see here, but he's practicing kind of holding this. The same thing on the backside. Holding, we're both looking to hold, and then are we forcing or are we following? Okay, so practicing active feet where we need to get to. Much easier to do this if we had more people, but this just kind of shows you that if you have one coach running the group, you can run this read drill and get something out of it. Here I'm simulating a down block, so you can see sometimes I'll down it to the nose, sometimes I'll practice down into the nose and climbing, sometimes I'll practice just going straight to the mic. It kind of depends because we see a lot of different variations based on who teams have at their center, how they feel they can handle our nose, and again, it also depends on what we're doing with our front. But here, you see here, if we down, Mike's going to end up looking for that clear between the center and the tackle. That center and the tackle clear could be A gap, could be B gap. Again, depends on the block I present him. He needs to be inside of a down block at him. The Jack's looking for that next clear. Again, the good thing with a lot of this stuff is a lot of times this Jack is coming unblocked based on just the athleticism of this guy. When you have an offensive lineman trying to block a safety in space, it's a tough task for that kid. Here again, that Sam, shoulders squared, looking to take on the pull. Here I've just yelled pull, so I've down, yelled pull, so he knows it's coming. He's just simulating that action with active feet. Same thing backside. We're practicing that hold technique. And sometimes as we get to doing this, we talk about, the forced fall, start simulating it. We had a kid this year at Will that ended up starting at the end of the year due to injury, but, he's really good at practicing this. He's getting there, and he's just making pretend. He's a kid playing imaginary games here, practicing that clear being there, attacking it. It's cloudy, active, getting shoulders outside, staying square. Here you see the front side zone type action. So again, backside we're going to hold. A lot of times we have the zone read threat. We get the zone read type threat. This tackle on the backside will squeeze it down, and this will have to occupy that quarterback on the pull action. So he's just practicing this look, holding that. A lot easier again to simulate once we get into more people in here, when we get our all of our defensive line in here, and we play our actual inside run period. Sam's our force player, and then again, inside out clears. You'll notice how I have, the zone type action here. Mike's typically going to be inside of this guard on the zone action. If they're working the center in this guard to this nose. The jack, honestly, when we talk about zone, you don't see a pull. You can be just a little, if you don't have a pull or an insertion by a blocker, you need to hold just a little bit longer and not be quite so aggressive downfield so you can help manage that cut back lane. Here if that running back gets some zone action and tries to cut it back. But the good thing here is we have the backside tackle squeezing down the line. We have our hold player who can fall in. It's just good simulation there by all of our positions. Zone to the weak side, back set to the strength here, for example. You see here kind of that same concept. Will's now forcing the edge here. Mike's inside-out player. Jack's working forward. We don't have a pull or some sort of insertion, so he can hold just a little bit. And again, I need to yell zone on this, so we are getting clean reads. Again, if we had another guard, even another guard, we could simulate this a lot better. But I'll step there. So, and this is often a good thing for our Mike and our Jack too, because they kind of get work here. Sometimes I'll yell it just right away, and they can react quickly like this. And sometimes I'll hesitate. Not even half a second, but just enough to where, they see that down block and they get used to thinking pull this way, so they'll take that step and then they'll work back, and it's good work for them to read and react, because as we know, and with our scout team and such and practice, it's hard to get good simulation. So sometimes the game catches us off guard and puts us in disadvantaged positions. Just good drill work for these guys. And again, the Sam, he's practicing holding that backside of zone. Here's a look at ISO, and we see ISO in a couple different ways. We'll see that just doubling down to the nose, and the modern fullback inserting and blocking on our mic. We'll see that release straight to our mic, and soloing the nose. So then the ISO blocker is going essentially to what would be our jack backer or our jack safety, that middle safety. But here, if we get the double down, the Mike sees cloudy and A gap, so he's working a B gap, working over top. See here for how that jack's looking for the next clear. We got our force and hold, force fall player on the backside. Here you see if the guard straight releases, so I'll simulate this a multitude of ways. Again, this Mike is just practicing looking for his clears. And this mic for us is not usually a traditional mic. This isn't, talking about high school, this isn't necessarily a 180 to 210 pound kid. For us, for these last couple years, this has been a 145 to 155 pound kid that's hyper aggressive. But you can see here kind of how we're looking to fit this ISO. Keep our rules simple, looking for cloudy and clear. If we see clear, we got to hit our clear. Fold, I'll yell fold block here. Immediately, this out block, yell the fold just so we're alert to it. We get this a lot in the style of defense we play, especially in, once teams get into some sort of, 10 personnel here, we'll see some fold type stuff with an eventual ISO blocker as the running back and, quarterback ISO essentially fits just like normal ISO. Again, backside practice in the hold. We've seen some teams that have run the double fold at us, where they'll simulate this on both sides. They're kind of tough for our jack, but the good thing is playing him with a little bit more depth, that middle safety, he can fit forward. He sees that double fold on both sides, and he can kind of slow play it until that back has declared the side that he's running to. Here we see the outside zone. Good practice here. Again, our Mike is not a sideline to sideline player. He's an inside-out run player, and so is our jack. So we do not want to practice, this Mike getting way out here and this jack getting way out here. That's not their run responsibility. That's not their job. So, we really practice on playing this inside-out run game against outside zone type look. their quarterback, if the quarterback pulls on some sort of, jet power read type action, they got to work on that inside out stuff. So we talk about that all the time. You got to be alert to if it's pulled and ran inside, you have to be responsible for that. So you see here, Mike looking for the inside clear. Jack looking for the next inside out clear. See how those gaps align. Again, we have our force player, some sort of outside zone or jet type scheme. We'll get the crack, and the good thing about this 3 high safety stuff is you get a very easy read running that Tampa 2 read stuff here. We get the crack. It's easy to practice replacing that. But in this read drill, just with this group, just simple run fits. Mike inside out, Jack inside out, second clear. We got our force fall techniques, get into that hold position by our outside linebackers. And here you see the outside zone to the other side, same thing. No difference here. Another one that we see a lot that we practice is the G lead or G out. This could be a pin pull, a true G lead. This could be a buck sweep type action here. Again, we got to be really alert to Mike being inside out, Jack looking middle safety, looking for that next clear. And again, just force fall, working that hold position on the backside. And usually we finish our read drill with a little bit of pass work. I know this isn't necessarily involved in run fits, but just something letting you know how we finish this every day. A good way to work this in. Working the pass set, active feet by our Mike here. Remember, he's our run first player. And then pass, he is a quarterback spy cutoff type player. So he's practicing buzzing his feet, being alert to the quarterback here. And we're hitting our pass drops and our Tampa stuff. So again, our Tampa 2 read, our inverted Tampa type stuff. I'm just working on this because for these 3 here, not much changes there depending on that. And that's a coverage variation. The Tampa type stuff that we're running, 60 to 70% of our snaps. So it's good that we drill it every single day we can. And then finally finishing, I'll go from guard to quarterback as the coach. And we're actually practicing the quarterback flow. So I've already declared this is going to be a pass play. Again, Mike's got active feet. You can see here he's looking to be a cutoff player. It's crucial that he practices not establishing that rush too soon. He's here to replace dudes. If we get an end or a tackle, getting hooked here, he's got to force that cutoff and get outside of it. But if he just goes and mindlessly blitzes a gap, that doesn't serve the purpose we want it to serve. So quarterback spy cutoff. Again, as I start flowing, here we can adjust our coverage. So our outside linebackers and our middle safety are flowing with the quarterback, just practicing those good short hook curl type zone drops and practicing our whole pull runner from our Tampa player, our middle safety.